G'day, and welcome back to the channel, Headlight Restoration Perth. Today I'm going to be working on a 2011. It's a FG, it's a Ford Falcon that's made here in Australia. Popular car. As you can see, the lights are a little fuzzy, but we will see what we can do. So I'm going to try and talk about finding your process, as I still feel that I'm finding mine, so, and I've been getting some great feedback lately from some people, so I'd like to give a big shout out to Broward Headlight Restoration and Simply Clear, because these two lads have been really helpful, and they've gotten me to add a step or two the way I'm doing my lights. So and also cheers to everyone else who has taken the time to share their thoughts on what I'm doing and everything. So as you can see there, I did start with the 400, so, but I did end up transferring to the 320 grit, which I didn't actually show you, but I did stay with this for a while. So, and like that, Simply Clear, he did mention in one of his comments that I should stick to the grits a little longer when I'm starting, because I seem to go through it a little quicker. So that being said, that really corresponds with my thought process of the 5 Ps, like proper preparation promotes perfect presentation. So so I have had to become a lot more patient, and really let that paper do its job. So with that patience, with each step, I've been getting a better result. So this is what I continually tell myself now, I have to be that little more patient. I don't have to try and rush through to get to the next one, to get to the next one, to get to the finish, because, if I just spend that little bit of extra time on each grit, it really does prep the lens just that bit better for when you do go to the next grit. So if this is something you also do, give it an extra minute or two and really start getting the benefits of sticking to the grits before just transferring to the next one, right? So after going to that 320, I feel it took time that it needed to get to the lens to the point that all the clear was removed. So I'm still on the 4 here, but what you can't see is from this angle, because of probably from the sunlight and everything. But when I'm looking down, there was a lot of little clear marks and little speckles of clear that just weren't quite being removed with that 400. So yeah, I did decide to change up, but it was probably still a little while from here, because I do remember doing the whole light. Yeah, so I'm just pointing to the clear and everything there, and you can still see, even with the 400, I am clearing a lot of that plastic, but you can see right there when I'm rubbing it, it's still got those clear spots. And I did think about just continuing on the 400s and the 400s, but like because I'm sort of like learning the process where I'm going through the dry sanding, then the wet sanding and everything like that as a new technique, I thought I would just get a better bite. So I think it's around now that I went down to that 300. So I really did spend a lot more time and was a lot more patient. And I think that's a lot more beneficial than I give it credit to at the beginning, like, I don't know, like, it's like sometimes mentally I try and put a time limit on things, but I found that just doesn't work because not all lights are made the same, so you could do like a Toyota or a Subaru over here and you could do it twice as fast, and then you could get into the Mercedes and the other cars with the harder lenses and that, and it could take you twice as long. So trying to stick to that time limit, it really doesn't do justice to the work that you're trying to produce. So you let the lens tell the story, and if you have to go down to a lower grit, well, then that's what you need to do. And so I thought that I'd be able to start at the 4, but when I went into this and I just wasn't able to see the change, so to speak, the way I wanted it to with that 4. I thought, well, as this is still a learning process for me, I did decide just to go to that 320 and get a better bite on the whole situation, so don't be afraid to do that. Like maybe a 220 if I had to, but I'm not at that stage where I'm confident enough to go lower than a 220. And the 320 was getting a good bite, and it was taking off those clear marks. So when I did that, I then decided, just to keep on going over with the 320, just to get that really uniform kind of feel across the lens, and get to that point before I started the wet sanding. So as you can see, like still on that 320, just giving it a good crack with that and getting rid of all the last bits, even doing the edging. I don't mind doing the edging by hand still. It's, I don't know, I like that. I just think you can get into right on that edge just a little better, especially in the corners and all that, because there is some parts that a round disc can't get into a square corner, you know what I mean? So I think it's important just to do those areas by hand still. And when you're doing it by hand, you get to get a bit of a feel for what's still available there and what you still have to remove. So I'm pretty much getting to the end section of the 320 for the dry sanding. Mind you, it is still making a bit of snow, taking off that bit of the plastic to make it all going. So and obviously once I start getting better at at the whole process, I will be able to streamline it a little bit and make it a little bit more fluent. So now I'm hitting the 320 still, but I'm doing it with the water. So, and when you do start that 320 on the wet process, because of that extra lubricant and that, it's not like you're using the 320 as such. Because of that water now, that 320 it does go up in grit as such, just because of the lubricant. So I'm looking at that 320 to sort of like be the 380 sort of type thing, type grit with this. So it really does make in for a good segue to that 400. So and I did that continuously through there. I did use the hand gimbal from the 320 and the 400 with the wet, but I do believe if I went back and listened to the advice that I got, that it's what I've worked out is, like, when you're doing the wet process, like, you're only going to be doing that for the grits up to that 500 stage. So let's just hypothetically say you done it at the 220. So you do the 220 dry, then the 220 wet, clear it off. Then you do the 320 dry, the 320 wet, and then I'm going to that 400. So the 400 is the last wet process before the 500 grit. So it's after I do the wet on the 400 is when I would do the gimbal by hand, to get all those horizontal lines and get rid of any swirls and things like that. So, but in this instance, I did it after each wet grit, where I really didn't need to do it after the 320. I just could have done it after the 400. So that's something to keep in mind. And what I did do is with that backing pad, that yellow attachment, I got 2 of them. So I use one for dry, and then I'll change it when I'm doing the wet, because it does have that sponge interface. And when you're doing the wet, obviously it's going to take on a bit of moisture. So if you were to put that dry sanding pad on for the next one, it's obviously going to create that moisture through that disc, and it's going to get a bit pasty again when you really don't want it to. So so if you do it this way as a test, try and if you've got 2 of those backing plates, do that. Use both of them, one for the wet, one for the dry, and then make the benefits work for you rather than against you by doing it. So all these processes, they've been really beneficial, the ones that I've learnt from all the feedback that I've been getting and everything. So I really can't tell you enough how grateful I am for all the feedback that I have gotten over the past few months, because without it, I would not be as clued in to what I'm doing as I am, And I think it's fair to say that if I was having to do this on my own and, go through all the trial and error and tests, everything without any of the feedback, I think it's fair to say that I'd at least be another 6 to 12 months away from where I am today. And I'm sure of that, because all the advice that I'm giving you, it's absolutely expedited where I would be. I might be, downplaying it a little bit by saying, 12 months, but I know definitely I would not be getting the results that I am now if I was still on stuff if I was doing it by myself, because theoretically I might still be doing everything by hand. I might still be doing it by wet and dry. If I wasn't able to see other people's work and to get the advice that I have, I probably wouldn't have gone into that machinery side of things. And, so I really appreciate the input that's everyone's added, because it really has made the world of difference. So that being said, I think, I'd really love this channel to be one where we get to help each other, I'll create what I can on this end, and I'll always be learning from the feedback that I get. So, one hand washing the other, really. So if you're thinking about starting a headlight restoration as a side hustle, or it might be something that you already do, like and subscribe to the channel, and so you can always have somewhere, to go back to for a reference, or you'll be able to find some information. There might be something that I've done that could be the answer to what you might be looking for, and we can always be able to improve our results from sharing each other's information, I guess. So, so it really doesn't matter if you just copy just one thing that I'm doing or the whole process. It's always important to stay teachable, so, and if you can do that, you will always succeed. It doesn't matter what you're doing. So from this point, I would have finished all the wet and dry. I think I be on the 600 on that last one. Now transferring up to the 800, because by doing that wet and dry, I think it's just a really nice transition. But that being said, I think if you just spend the time on it, even if you just stayed dry, I don't think that's a bad thing. I think as long as you give it the time that it's actually required to get that light prepped before you go to the next paper, I think you'll be fine. So when I finish the 800, because I'm going to go to the Trizac after this, so I think that 800s are normally pretty much where I'm pretty happy finishing on the dry sanding. So after that, I do use the hand gimbal again, just to get rid of any of the swirls, look for those horizontal lines, just to get everything uniform again. Yeah, so like I say, it doesn't matter if you're going horizontal or vertical. This is as long as you're getting those lines and you're removing all the swirl marks and the tails, and because the once you've moved them, the clarity's going to be a lot nicer. And you might have scratches on there that you just can't remove, but whatever can be removed, if you do it and you're doing it through that horizontal movement and getting rid of the swirls, the end result really does turn into a better one. So this video is a little longer than I usually pump out, but I because I'm trying this trying to get different process going on, I thought I'd share a little bit more just to see if any of the extra information was valid for you or something you might want to look at. Give you something else to comment about or give us a bit more feedback. So that was the 3M Trizac polishing pad. It's a 3000 grit, and you do this with the water. So again, I changed the backing plate for the water, and these are they're not going to scratch anything, so it doesn't matter if you go over and you hit a bit of the paper and all that sort of stuff, because it's really not going to do much damage at all. I even spent a bit more time just on this section, and I think that pays dividends as well, because just getting that 3000 grit, and even so it's a pad, it really is starting to clear that lens, as you can see. So from there I do the polishing, but first what I'll do is I'll get your window cleaner just to pull down and pull out any other little particles that might be in any kind of grooves or whatever that is left there. And the paper that I'm using to go around the light, what I'm pulling off now, with that water, it was just getting really flimsy, and it was just it was losing a lot of stick. So I decided to remove it, because I just didn't want it flapping up and hitting the lens after polishing, and definitely not after the clear. So I did remove it, because when I'm applying the polish and everything, it is with I do use that 3M Finesse It orange pad. So again, I wasn't really concerned about it hitting the paint or anything like that. And that being said, this is the first time that I've actually ever done it. I don't think it's going to become part of my process doing it. It was more about just pulling off that really loose tape and all that. I could have retaped it, I guess, and I might do that in the future, but I was just thinking because I was using the polish that it wasn't really going to do much damage to any of the paint on the panels and everything. So, and as you can see, I do that dabbing, and this has become a part of the process where I dab it, but I continually dab it until that lens drinks all that polish. And you can see how clear it is now, before I've even really started with the polishing process. And so that's something that I have added over the last few cars, and I'll continue to do that until I come across a car where it doesn't work. But at the moment, it definitely does seem beneficial by continuously dabbing it all that extra, because it does let that lens, does give it that time to absorb that the polish into it, and let it get a bit of moisture in it, rather than basically just putting it on and buffing it off, so I really do use 90% of the polish that was on there, opposed to sort of like if you just put it on and then just started doing it, like then your pad gets gets a lot more absorbed into it rather than the lens. So I reckon the light would probably even take up to 95% of the polish that I actually dab on it, which is really beneficial. This is something I've just bought. Like I see people, they use the tape paper and all that sort of stuff. I found like the plastic, there's a real thin film of plastic, and it does fold out to like at least 2 feet, or 500-600 mil. So I found that, and I thought, I'll give that a go, because sometimes when you're outdoors in the wind and everything, that overspray, it really does jump on the paint just after, even if I tape off the 3 inches around, 3 to 5 inches, there you always do feel that line. Even so it might be faint, I still see it there. So I thought I'd give this a go, and as you can see, you can just roll it out for as long as you need it. It does come in longer lengths, shorter lengths, but I thought that that 2 feet would be a pretty suitable size, because you're concentrating just on that lens, and the overspray, it usually captured on the plastic within that 2 feet for sure. So as you can see, it's just taped just like that brown paper that I've seen a lot of people use. I don't think this is any different. I don't know if paper or plastic is any better or worse, but with the plastic, it is a little bit more stretchier. It is a bit longer, and if I only wanted to use a foot, then I'd only unfold it to that distance and then tape it off. But if I wanted to use that the full 2 feet, I could do that as well. So I think that's more beneficial than the paper. Not saying that the paper's no good, but at this point, this is probably a little cheaper than the paper. So it's just a trial thing with me. This is the first time I've used it, but yeah, I think it's definitely beneficial. So if you only use the tape and you do get that like little line after you've sprayed, you might want to think about looking at the paper or this plastic, and just to save yourself a bit of grief, so then you don't have to get any alcohol and wipe off the clear off the panels and things like that. And as I had a bit of an audience, you know, it makes you look a little bit more professional when you're doing that as well. So, and after I've done that, you know, just give us that last bit of buffing just to get off any of the polish that still might be remaining. Before you attack the clear. So with that clear, I do use the Maguire's Keep Clear. You know, make sure I did a test spray. You don't always see that, but yeah, I do test it. I do make sure it's sprayed first, go around the edges, fill in all the middle, go multi-directional, so I make sure I've got a really good coat. And then this is the finished product. So like I say, if this is beneficial to you in any way, like, subscribe, and join the community, and we can learn from each other moving forward. So enjoy your day.